what's up? Welcome to House Talk, home of all things house. I'm your host, Summer, and today I have a very, very special guest, a local and upcoming artist and wellness coach, Louise, also known as Inner Sanctuary.
I'm very happy to be here. Super excited.
I'm excited to have you on too. So I know we were just talking and life's all crazy for everybody, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and coming on and talking to us and the viewers about, what you do and some of the things you bring to the scene. And we were just talking about how music is so important. So what was your why, if you're comfortable on telling us, on getting into music, and how did you start the process?
So I could even go back to as early as 2001. I started working. I moved here from Maryland and was going to Bible school in Lakeland, Florida. And my senior year moved out here to Tampa and started working at amphitheater in Ybor. And I started dating the sound guy. The sound guy there worked with Gemini, who still is in the scene. But I was the beer tub girl there for 4 years. And so when I graduated and started teaching, my first 4 years of teaching, I was in that whole scene for the very first time. And so naive with everything. So with just innocent eyes and just jamming out and Channing Tatum, dance there at the time. And just experiencing Paul Oakenfold and
I feel like
Bad Boy Bill, yeah, and and I'm trying to think Tiesto, when he was first starting out, and just getting chills and watching it all from the beer tub right in front of the door and being what is happening, and watching the dancers on the boxes and be yes, and just feeling the energy. And so that's initially when I first fell in love with music. So that was it just was in my heart. And then from there, it grew into so many things, yeah.
I was not expecting you to say the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Because
the rotating dance floor amphitheater is what I'm talking about. The OG amphitheater, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when people would go there and throw up on the dance floor, and it was... But you remember when it caught on fire?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I remember so many things. There was this sweet man who would go there every Friday. He was in his 80s, and he would work out there from 9:30 to 10 and buy 2 waters from me, and he would spin, and that was his workout every Friday. And then there was another man who would spin around every time they played Take Me Away, and it was the happiness in his heart. And then so you'd see the polarities of everything, but I was very naive to it all. And so then I remember I quit there when I started dating my who I ended up marrying. Mm-hmm. And I was married for 14 years and still loved music, and I would go out, but I would go out for different reasons. I would go out and dance to escape, and I don't know, started getting into the drinking scene and all of that. And then I had an awakening about 3 years ago, and I started to realize that my entire life I was not in my own current. I started to become aware of the whole people pleasing, and music did come into this because I found myself in dance, and I started to come out to St. Pete and feel a different energy, and a lot of the local scenes even. Actually, even prior to that, I met Tiffany and Bo with Beautiful Life EDM, and I would come out randomly by myself and shift my energy of being out to add value instead of take from the place. Instead of wanting attention, I remember going to Embird when late night flights would have their Thursday nights at the time, and looking around and not caring what age I was or what age other people were, but thinking, well, we're all souls here. What are we all going through? And I was learning to shuffle, and so I would learn to dance and not care what anybody thought, but in a loving way, unconditional love. How can I spread joy? How can I be joy? And how can I actually feel I'm adding value to a place, and then leaving also when I know it's time to leave, and not being out to escape my life.
I think, man, that's such that's a really powerful few statements there, because like I struggle like being present in the moment and like, hey, we're out, or I'm out for myself, like to have a good time and embrace what's around me. And I recently started finding the joy in being able to go out to shows by myself and trying not to care what other people think, because I still struggle with that. So it's
too, yeah.
It's nice to know that somebody else is going through this or went through this and experienced this as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and so it's still a dance I go through, figuratively speaking. I listened to this one song from the 90s, actually. It's from DC Talk, like this Christian rap, and it's called In the Light, and I'm always like, what's my why? And I listen to it on my way. Sometimes when I'm out. Silence my phone, sorry.
No, you're fine.
And
can you move just a tiny bit? Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
But so that is a lot of the reason why, like, I started to fall in love with dance, and so that just exploded, like, my love for the EDM scene, and then I just couldn't stop dancing. I would like shuffle all the time, and I ended up going through a peaceful divorce and just waking into my own current and realizing that when I show up to a place or to any experience in life whole and complete, that it's a whole different energy, and that like, goodness, it changed the way I viewed the whole world. It changed the way I viewed what love is and what unconditional love is. And you don't always make people happy in the moment, but it shifts worlds around you. And then from there, I started to think, well, I could learn. Like, I would show up to shows, whether it was an international show or if it was a local DJ, and I would feel when they were present in the moment, the artist. And then I could see the effect that this has on the audience, and I was like, well, this is like ministry of music. Like, this is what I feel, and I could learn. I feel like I'm called to learn how to DJ also, and how to eventually make music. And so that's when nothing happens by accident. I would show up to certain events, and I started chatting with Valentina at the Beat Academy, and then started also to meet a lot of the graduates. And so when it was aligned, that's when I felt, called to go to that school, and they teach in layers where it's empowering. The instructor, Alan, he's part of Late Night Flights. He's very,
if you all haven't seen Alan,
yeah,
you have to see him. I love watching him play.
He's present.
He's a vibe. He's a vibe. But let's talk about for a minute, like, you are where you're supposed to be, and like you don't, like, nothing happens by accident.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny you mentioned Tiffany and Bo. I didn't know you knew them, like, prior to, like, us talking. Yeah. So that's funny because, like, I know them too. And how do we know them? Through the music scene. And it's so interesting because we were probably at amphitheater, like, at the same shows, but like never crossed paths. Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And then I like how you touched on, music it's a calling, it's almost a religion, and when some artists play, I can distinctively remember the first time I ever saw Lane 8 last year.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I can't even explain it, but the feeling in the crowd, that energy, and the same with Ben Bomer, that was just, some artists really have that gift and talent of just taking over that crowd and just raising that energy and vibration.
Yeah, like an explosion of joy.
Yeah. And it's such like a feeling like I can't even describe to people. Like, unless you experience it, it's so hard to describe.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Beats Academy and your experience and like what you thought of it.
Yeah. I think it's an awesome experience. That it's in Kansas City, and each week, like, in between, you watch videos so you can prepare yourself and practice. And then when you go, you bring, your computer, and it's just like walking you through each step. And Alan used to be an engineer, I believe, and so the way that you can tell, he front loads almost like backwards plans, how you would think starting out not knowing, like, things. So I can get so easily overwhelmed. I'm the queen of 100 self-help cans open at one time, and then I just can't do it because I have too many things to do, So it was very empowering the way he would walk us through. There were 7 of us in the class, and we were all females. And he just was so patient with all of us. And I would show up very scared, about each thing. And it was just, but like layer by layer, he would teach us what to do. And like, so for example, I can even give like, instead of telling us everything at once, it would be like, just how to handle the bass when you bring in a track, or even just to beat match prior, and not to worry about the highs and the mids. And so little things that I could even learn after the class, I was able to pick up on, and just the basics of going in and being able to rock it out by myself. So like right after I graduated, I did feel prepared. I was able, and then even the crew who graduated prior were like a community. Mm-hmm. So Monique Lacatera, it was like, I remember she asked me to play at district, and I'm like, I might need a few more weeks. And she was like, okay. And she's like, I'm like, I think I'm ready. She's like, you are already ready. So she brought me into my first gig, and I remember actually accidentally seeing her on her first gig, and I was like, who's this girl? And so it's about like people being in their essence and empowering others to be in their essence, and no competition, that kind of thing. I love it.
Did you find it nerve-wracking and scary when you first played in front of people?
Oh, it's always scary. I walk through my biggest fears, and it's not even about DJing or performing. It's like fears you already have within you. They come up, and I'm a big believer of just walk through whatever is in the moment and be there. Like, we're all one, and I'm currently like learning a lot about the universal laws and how everything like just and even just being in what's already unfolding and not resisting it. And so, and then we're all one. Like, and we're all interconnected.
Resisting, I think that's
it's the death of us. Yeah.
Because you want to resist, you want to control, you want to manipulate.
Yeah.
But when you start that, like, the universe works against you versus for you.
Yeah, yeah. And everything happens for us. So like, I'll go up to a board and I'll plug in my USB, and my USB has updated settings that the board didn't. So it'll reset the whole board, and I have 40 seconds, and I'm like, eh. And so there have been so many times where you will make mistakes, and it's like, great, just embrace the mistakes. And I'm like, well, okay. And then just, I think if it just being present, and yeah, I feel so nervous and scared, like so many times that I play, but I think just to be present and to rock it out, because life is scary. It really is, actually. And to walk through the fear, I think instead of like taking it as a prisoner, to be in a state of giving and receiving constantly, and just like face the fears and embrace them and take them as friends, an alarm system almost to like what is already within you. And that comes up every time I DJ. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're all here for each other, and so like just to support, and if there's ever a competition, it's just based out of fear and insecurity. Mm-hmm. So like those of us who have an understanding, we can just be like, okay, well, we're really not competing, and yeah, so just walk through it.
That's a really mature thing to say.
Yeah, it's true.
That's wow, I like that.
Like, we're not even competing against like international DJs. Like, we're all one, and so
we're all on our own journey. Mm-hmm. And your goals are different than my goals are different than your goals, and we're all one, and like you said, we're all on our own journey.
Yeah. And
a couple weeks ago, I did Hyde Park Cafe in Tampa, and I'd never been to Hyde Park Cafe, and Brian Busto and Late Night Flights put on Jeremy Orlander.
Mm-hmm. And they're making it more frequent there, putting acts there. I saw Alvaro and So,
have you been to Hyde Park Cafe?
I haven't. It's so funny. I used to go there like 20 years ago. I used to go there. Yeah. So it's like things are full circle. Honestly, there is a different scenes, but your frequency that you individually carry when you go there, it speaks volumes. So like you'll see maybe a crowd or a group of people, like say that they have a table or something, and then they might be maybe subconsciously in their ego feeling that they're important because of maybe that table, but then they see some people over there dancing that they don't care in unconditional love, and they have a freedom that maybe that group doesn't understand. Well, that speaks volumes. Yeah. And the more that people are in their essence, I think anything could happen.
And I met you at a show. Mm-hmm. And I cannot stress enough how important Plur is.
Yeah.
And you were so nice to me, and you kept checking on me, and And Dustin was like, you get down there, you get. Yeah, and I thought Salt and Shepherd and Jero. Did you do the meet and greet?
I wanted to
Okay.
so badly. They both like both of those acts, both of those shows were just so good. And I listened to sets from them and like would put on YouTube, put sets like on my TV to watch. Such calming and peaceful, but yet I'll shuffle at the house to those, like, full of joy. Yeah. So I think plur comes from within. Yeah. Honestly, it's your state of being, and so yeah.
That was
Jero came down and danced with us.
I know
I was like, yeah. And I watch his sets, like on the rooftops. Yeah. And like I'm just like, that is one happy guy, and that proved it. Yeah. And Salt and Shepherd are just beautiful.
I think for Jero to come down into the crowd,
he was dancing right beside us.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
And I was fortunate enough to meet them before the event. And speaking of Salt and Shepherd, they were just. I was really nervous because. Like, you listen to, an artist for so long, and then you're in front of them, and you don't know what to say. Yeah. And the fact that they had just released their new album, too, was, like, pretty impressive. And I don't know, that was my first time at the Vanguard, and
I loved the Vanguard.
I liked the Vanguard. I thought it was a good venue. I thought tickets...
That was a special night, too. That was proof, too, because the Vanguard will have different energies on different nights from the artist and then the crowd that artist pulls. And that night I was like, well, this feels different here. And Salt and Shepherd, I'll even read comments under their sets, and there's one set they play, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. And the comment underneath, they're like a multitude of comments. Someone will be like, oh, my aunt just died of cancer, and your set just brought me back to life. And it's like that. Music is a ministry. Yeah, it really is.
Do you know they intend to really see people from Tampa? Mm-hmm. I knew the Anjuna fam group was going, so I had met up with them earlier.
Yeah.
And I was in the bathroom, and I opened the stall door, and Tiffany is in there. And I forget the girl's name, but she was there with a really tall girl.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was going to. I knew. My intuition knew I was going to see that group there. And Breezy was there.
Okay, yeah, that's her. And then when I met you and Dustin, you were like, oh yeah, we're from Tampa. It was so funny. We all just were in this one group on the floor. And just...
what's so weird too is that right at that same time, this girl beside me, it was the blonde beside me, she's like, I know you. And when I first met Dustin at Santos, I met him because he was like, nice footwork, and then we started talking. Well, he asked me to DJ at a pool party, and I played Jero in Lane 8, and this girl came up to me at the pool party, and she's like, I can't believe you're playing this, and she's like, this is touching my whole day. And she came up, she's like, I know you played this music at a pool party. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was the pool party he hired me for. So like we all reunited.
Did that feel good?
Yeah.
To have somebody recognize you like that?
Yeah, it was like really, it was because I like, and I knew I was supposed to play, like I was like channeled certain music to play for that day, and it just all made sense. And then I was supposed to meet up, so we connected more that night also, and I've become friends since then. So it's just really cool how music brings everyone together. Yeah.
Well, like Margie said a couple weeks ago, the music unites us all.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome that somebody in Orlando recognized you and like was right there. That must have felt so awesome.
It did. And like when your why becomes bigger than you, and it even happened like I know Tiffany and I have talked about this before too. Like when we would go to festivals together and stuff, and people would come up and recognize, like us. We were in Chicago, and people recognize us. Like, are you guys from Orlando?
Did you do ARC?
Yes.
Okay.
And people recognize us at ARC. It was just because we were dancing like so hard. This was before I ever played music or anything.
Okay.
And people recognized us because we would dance so hard when we were out, and they were like, "You're getting down with the soil." And you're like, it's just like, I think when people are in their essence, and it's just such a like magic, and like we can all be in our essence.
That's crazy that you guys got recognized in Chicago.
Yeah.
How funny.
Yeah. It's just neat.
It's so interesting when you start going to areas outside of Tampa Bay, and you do, like, people recognize you, or you're like, hey, didn't I see you there? And it just connects everybody.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Did you like ARC?
I did. Funny story. I got so into it. Was when vintage culture and like wax my teeth. There were this one day. It was like a heavy hitters. Like I was really excited to dance, and I forgot to wear soles in my high tops, and I danced so hard. It was a tough day on my body, but it was a really fun day. Yeah.
I know. I feel like when I go to a festival, it's like I gotta put my inserts in my shoes.
my mom's like, "Were you drinking Pedialyte?" I was like, "Yes." So
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I could dance for like 8 hours straight.
That's so funny. I just can't believe it's another Tiffany tangent. Like I said earlier, she recognized she was at We Belong Here last year, trying to help me during my meltdown when I lost my fan, and she recognized me at the Floridian Social. Like, and it wasn't a great thing to be recognized, folks, for having a meltdown with losing your custom fan. But like, she's like, "Hey, aren't you the girl in Miami that like was having a fit?" And yeah, that was me. But it was great to like actually connect, because then we are like very friendly with each other, and go to some shows together, and
yeah, you guys were meant to meet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting when people cross when they cross your path.
Yeah. That was or you guys resonate with each other for sure. Yeah.
How do you stay motivated with music? Do you ever go through times when you're super motivated and then times when you're not motivated, and how do you deal with all that?
Yeah, I've been working through some major beliefs about myself, and I've caught like even where I used to just full-blown just dance 20 minutes a day just to have fun and to feel joy. Mm-hmm. And I think after I must have brought up that day at art, because I think I caused some like damage in my body. So I would like work through chronic pain. And then, so I've worked through that just to have joy and dance each day. That used to just be my cardio even. And then creating sets. I mean, you can overplan. It can become a task, and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, what's happening?" When that really is a joy to curate, like a melodic set, or even to be able to take people on a journey, and for that to be channeled in your essence outside of like a chore. It can, I think anything can go the wrong route when you work through insecurities and fear, and then trying to please or overcompensate for something that you're avoiding. But then when you're able to step out and zoom out and see what you're working through. So the more I'm able to work through beliefs that are in, I have a lot of things programmed within me that I'm working through, and the more that I'm able to walk through that, the more it's like an explosion of just like gifts that I know I'm able to offer. And a lot of it is through music and dance, and even just body movement and sharing. And yeah,
you did something, and I don't know if it was last month, but it was a set with breath work in it, and I enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I really enjoy a lot of your sets because I think we have very similar tastes in music.
Yeah, we do, I can tell.
So I might be a little biased, but I really enjoy, the work you do, and find it interesting when you put out stuff. And music, you didn't always do music, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell us what you did if you don't want to, but I always just find it interesting, like, what people's journey, like, what were before music and then the switch over. Was it hard when you decided to quit whatever profession you were in and then like, I'm going to focus on wellness and music? Like, was it hard to make that jump?
Yeah. I was a teacher for 18 years and actually worked for Hillsborough County, like where I would write, and it all lends to like what I'm doing now, but I would write curriculum for the writing team, and then go into, it helped me be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay. I would go into all the schools. There's like 140, 150 elementary schools in Tampa. And so I would, go into these schools and then like model lessons and then help teachers with the lessons after. This was like the very end of my career. But to be able to see, it helped me see patterns. I think life is all about patterns, and seeing meaningful patterns within yourself, and then making meaning to that in relation to like what's happened in the past, what's happening now, and then what you can work through within yourself, and understanding then what's happening around you. It's like consciousness. I started to see a lot like with what children are going through, and then what I'm going through, and then even adults. It mimics what I was like, oh, okay, we're all kind of like fifth graders still going through things if we're not aware. Yeah. So I knew somehow, I don't know, somehow I just knew. We got a new superintendent. I just knew it was time to exit. And I started a tutoring business to like help kids with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right for the time being. It was online, and I then when you just feel like you're stuck, because like I was stuck in an identity, and I started to realize that we are not the identities that we're in. We're not all of the things that I started to see. It was almost like looking out a window and like lifting the veil, like programs,
Mm-hmm.
all these programs that helped me feel safe in the past. I realized that they're all illusions. It was like, oh, okay. And I realized, and I'm still stepping into a lot of the things that I know I'm supposed to be doing. I'm seeing how they're all interconnected. Like there's something about, I don't know if you've ever seen me out shuffling. I couldn't shuffle on the spot for you. I have to go through this ego integration to where I get nervous and I talk too much. Like that one, there's this one track I can't remember. I see your lips moving, but what you're talking about, they laugh because that's me. I just like gab, and then all of a sudden I'm dancing in the spirit, like my mom dances at church, but I'm shuffling. There's something about that.
Okay.
There's something about, I would talk about consciousness and like integrating your ego and being able to like what really is love outside of programs. I'll talk about that all day, every day, and I want to be love out loud and not try to change people, but help people feel safe in their own body and to be able to just move into who they are and in a powerful way become everything they're called to be. And then there's also something about body movement and being able to be in this vessel in the most powerful way and to be confident as you age. And like, yeah, it's all interconnected. And then DJing, and there's so many up and coming DJs that are learning and walking through all the fears. And then in whatever you do, just being able to walk in fears and come as you are, and through the dance of like being scared about things and like running away and trying to escape, but then also having that awareness and coming back, and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So the place that I live now, I call it Inner Sanctuary Healing, and it is meant for the community. I can tell. I was able to have one event there where we had like that gave me the idea. We had a glow yoga with a live set. We had breath work, meditation. We had 2 decks going on at the same time.
Okay.
And it was so fun. I was like, oh, and it just flowed. And someone was doing sound meditation. She had like a banjo. It was just so cute.
Okay.
And so I was like, I feel called to do like events, collaborate with events, and integrate the coaching and dancing. And there's something about being able to just like cross that threshold to be you on the dance floor and to like let loose, like what we were talking about, to be that example.
I think it's so hard for people when it's time to let go and make that jump is really scary.
Yeah.
And some people, like, some of us can't, some of us can.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, being comfortable and being your true self.
Mm-hmm.
Because
like what that even means, it's so bogus.
Yeah.
And it's a freedom you experience, and you can't force it on anyone. That's what I've learned. And I used to try to force it on people to find purpose. But you are purpose. Yeah, it's like you can't force this on people. And so I've learned that through coaching. You can't be a coach to do that to people, to like learn to find worth. You have to. It's not even have to. It's like you wake up and you are that love. And then you can't force it on people. Like you are that space for people because you are that example. Yeah.
And I think one of the really hard lessons I've had to learn multiple times, that what is meant to be will be.
Yeah.
And when you start forcing stuff, you can't force somebody to love you. You can't force someone to hire you. You can't force someone to put you on their tracks or their show. And you have to be your true self and come as you are. And some people may like you, some people may not. And I think that's the hard part. For me, that's where I struggle, is like with the rejection, but I have to remember, my sound it's not for everybody. This show isn't going to sit well with some people, and just don't take it personally. It's more easier said than done. For sure.
I learned people see you to the capacity that they see themselves.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're all doing the best that we can at the level of consciousness that we're at. And so I used to be so programmed with like wanting everyone to be happy and wanting everyone to feel good, and then also wanting to like be the reason that everyone felt happy or good, and it's so depleting to do that. But knowing that when you stand in who you are, who's meant for you and what is meant for you will see you, and who's not meant for you and what's not meant for you is naturally weeded out because we don't control that. And so
I feel like you're giving relationship.
no, this is what I tell myself. I wrote it on my mirror, like, in my last house. And then when that was happening, like, my landlord was like, well, we have other plans for the house. And then I'm crying, but, like, I was living it. And then I like, just to let things unfold is such a hard thing. And then to embrace it all. And then even on top of that, all the triggers that come up within me, to, like, embrace those and use those as alchemy to, like, all the things that I'm unaware of. It's just like, it's why I wake up every day. So it's hard, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're going through it, because when you're in the weeds, when it's bad, I think, you know, all right, it's happening for a reason. It's going to get better. What goes up must come down, vice versa.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're going through it.
Yeah, it is. Like, I was crying this morning before I came here, but it's like to embrace even just like negative feelings as friends and like negative thoughts, because it all starts with the thoughts, you know, and like to embrace all of that as like even alarm systems to when I'm off track. Like, I think we're our biggest advocate. And so it's been the hardest thing for me to not blame other people or focus on other people or other experiences, is like my energy for it not to be focused on that, but to constantly be like, well, what's going on with me and why am I going through this? And then that's just been my explosion of growth.
I love what you just said about stop focusing on what others are doing and bring it back to yourself, because, man, I feel like you're my therapist today. Because
we're just on the same page. So.
Because I tend to do that a lot. Like, I'll get so focused on, oh my God, this vocalist just put something out and I wasn't selected for this or that. And then I have to, like, rein myself back in, acknowledge what I'm feeling, and then finding a way.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I believe about this?
To deal with
that's really what's important.
Yeah. And, you know, man, wow. It's so weird saying that, because yesterday I was like, I'm quitting, I'm done with this. The journey's too hard.
It is, yeah. It is hard, but
it's hard. Like, sometimes it's you know, I struggle with, do I keep going? Is it a numbers game? Like, but I want to quit, but something keeps calling me back to it.
And the truth, and when I go through things like that, the truth is like, when it gets hard, and this is for everyone, it gets hard is when, like, you're ready to, like, burst through the imaginary ceiling that we, like, give ourselves, because we're really equal. We're all equal. So all these people that we admire and that, you know, we hope to collaborate with one day and all of that, like we are the only people who hold ourselves back. And so, like, every time I'm like, this is so hard. This is, even with production, I mean, goodness, I'm triggered when I try to, like, I'm sitting there trying to make a drum rack the last month, and I don't even know how to play the drums. So I'm like, well, what's the kick? What's the snare?
Yeah.
What? And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is on me to, like, understand. If I'm frustrated, this is an opportunity to grow instead of quit. And and to have that attitude in life is like that, those are the people who make a difference. And
that's such a beautiful statement, though. I mean, it's true.
It is. It actually is. And
It's
so I
true.
feel like we can have beliefs, and I do think that a lot of the programs we're in, that we create beliefs and we hold on to them, and we program each other to be safe. But then there's truths, and there are truths that, like, our beliefs define us. And so, like, when we get stuck, like, well, what do we really believe about it? And what we believe about it is what really ultimately happens. Yeah.
Yeah, those are some pretty powerful words. And like you said, we admire you know, maybe this artist or, you know, this group of people or that label, and we want to, our end goal is to maybe work with them or whatnot. But I know for myself, I've had to take a couple steps back and be like, you know what? I'm grateful I have the opportunity that somebody like you is sitting in front of me right now, giving me their time, you know, coming on the show, or, you know, the gentleman that helps me in here. And, you know, I want to give a shout out to Ketone, that somebody like him is taking the time out of his day to help me, you know, and embracing.
When he moves with heart, like we're all equal. We all, and people who move with heart are like drawn to each other.
Yeah. And I mean, nothing happens like on your own time frame. It's just the universe works itself out. But, you know, that's what I'm reminding myself is be grateful for everybody I'm meeting now, because you don't get anywhere by yourself. You know, like there's people put, I really believe that people are put in your path for a reason. You know, there's that saying, a reason, a season, a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to look back on life events that may happen, and like my move out to Tampa when I moved out here 10 years ago, how that all unfolded, and like how that happened, and the people that helped me with that journey, and then my journey here in Florida. It's crazy how things happen.
Yeah.
So tell us about your wellness coaching, because I was very skeptical, because I had seen wellness coaches online. I had seen these like mastermind teachers, and then I bit the bullet this summer and I hired a coach to help me with the business. And then I went through a really bad uncoupling, and I'm like, all right, like I need to pay somebody to like help me with this, because obviously what I'm doing, it's affecting how I'm coming across, maybe the people I'm choosing to date. And it was the best money I've spent, like, to invest, I think, in myself. It's one of, I don't know, just the stuff we accomplished. So like talk to us about wellness and how you got started on that.
I always enjoyed, like, even teaching. I always enjoyed helping even children with that. Like, in the mornings we would have, like, we'd study the structure of a sentence, but then also it would be about character, and they would reflect on how they incorporated their own character, you know, with what we were studying. So I always thought character development was really important, but something in me really shifted. I started to realize that I would seek for a safety and a feeling at home. I didn't know what that felt like within myself. I was lucky enough, like the whole and I see the word family right here, but like a whole family feeling and a feeling of safe. I did have that growing up. And then, like, the beginning part of my marriage, I did feel that, you know, like a feeling of like people cherish you and you're safe. You can just like let your shoulders down and you know, when I started to lose that feeling, it was really scary, you know, and I watched my dad go through something really, really traumatic. My dad was paralyzed for the last 8 years of his life, and to watch, but it was so transforming. And my dad being paralyzed, and it was an accident, and so I watched him wake up in the hospital and not know where he was, and not know he was paralyzed, and that he lost his job, and his whole life was different. He was never going home again, and even going through watching him and not knowing how to handle it, and like his soul woke up though. So like, and I found his journal from age 40 to 63, right before he became paralyzed. And
you found your dad's journal?
Yeah, and he would write in it. And
you read it?
Yeah, I still have it. And so like, but to see the worry, how we can worry, and how worry, it's like a thought can become a tornado. The more momentum you give it, and you can have a bunch of tornadoes in your brain, and like your soul can almost just be, it can want to live so much, but it can almost be dormant, and you can just be run by so many programs of like worry, and they're all illusions. But I saw this happen, and then when he became paralyzed, it was almost like he couldn't even, and I still feel his presence, and I know he doesn't mind me speaking of this, but like, where everything was, it was almost a forced surrender. He couldn't even get out of bed by himself in the morning, and he lived in a nursing home now, and my mom and dad would talk on the phone instead, but it was like his soul woke up, and he just embraced all of life, all of it. And he was in ministry in that nursing home. And he would go, I would take him to, I would come home once a month and take him to church. And he would be so excited to go in the fellowship hall and have, converse with everybody. And so I would read his worries prior to that, where none of that mattered to him now. And I was like, whoa, okay, hold on. Was this in his blueprint to wake up? And do we all, this was his awakening. And I still was asleep in the light at this point in my own life, but I was observing this in his life. And it wasn't until after he passed, which was in 2020, I think? Yeah, 2021, that I really, woke up. And I started to realize that, I really just started to realize that we can't change other people, but we can be the example. And I was like, if I can offer this safe space to people, even as a coach, and I started a YouTube channel, even prior to that, that was a way for me to share and almost solidify what I was learning. So I still have the YouTube channel.
I'm just trying to take in what you just shared about your dad, and
it was really powerful to watch. And even to see my mom right now walk through it all after he's transitioned and she doesn't have him around any longer, but she's still, our relationship is transformed to where I'm like, Mom, our relationship is authentic. I don't show up in guilt, and she doesn't show up, we're friends and we empower each other and we're honest with each other. And we were never like that before, where it's we show up in wholeness and not finding worth in external things by enabling each other in patterns. We're my mom really knows me now, and we walked through a lot of things to where, yeah, I know I'll lose my mom one day, but I know we're at least present with each other now, and that wasn't like that before. And I know Dad would be like, yeah, if he, yeah, I know he's like that. So that really lent into a lot of the coaching. I feel a higher calling, and I'm still building the business quite a bit and learning, and because I think it's really important as a coach to be able, I hired a coach this year myself for 6 months. I just, completed a 6-month cycle with a coach myself, because I think it's really important to be able to show up as an open space to hear without any projections yourself, and to be able to truly be present in the moment, and to be able to provide, such great feedback where you're not telling a client what to do. You're there to empower that client and to build consciousness within that client with all the modalities that I, have trained to do. And my one way I'm doing it now is just studying through, because I feel like we have universal laws that really aren't offered too much to people. And so just to be able to use that as content, and then to be able to apply it to any aspect of their life. So just to offer knowledge then that can become understanding, and that can be integrated as wisdom in action, to where they can just completely shift their identity and become the 2.0 version that already is within them. And I'm currently doing it every day still. I think we can evolve every day. So I learn something every time I'm working with a client about myself, and even walking through anything. But I just want to be that open space. And then I'm now even moving into group coaching, where we have small groups where I meet on Mondays with 2 other people.
I like that, group coaching.
In the music community, to where we're studying right now the law of one, the law of relativity, and the law of polarity, and we're seeing how it applies in our life. And this Monday we're identifying our overall vision, mission, and values, and seeing how we see it as individually, and then how that affects us coming together as a group, because we want to put events together for the group with that too. So I think it's all so interconnected. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to see how it grows.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, and then even at Steve Station, I got a residency the second Friday of every month, and so I'm integrating the universal laws into my sets there. And last month was the law of vibration, and this month I'm doing body movement, a yoga, complementary yoga, 30 minutes prior to my set. And I'm going to integrate some breath work and meditation into it, and do the law of one.
Okay, and we're going to post Anna's links for everybody to see, so they could find her on Instagram. And are you on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna post.
YouTube is the Dance of Evolving.
Okay, and we're gonna post everything. So if anyone's interested in contacting her about her services, you'll know where to find her. I think it's great that you want to be such a safe space for people to be open. And I know, like with my coach, I felt very safe with her, and I think when you have that trust, you can make a lot of headway. But it's funny, like she's said the same thing you're saying. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but like I'm going to guide you. And it was a lot of hard work, and our sessions were not easy, and I'm sure you've had to deal with not only your own emotions, but like I know I got quite emotional during some of my sessions and just frustrating, and you know we had to reel it back in. But you know, gratitude I think is something that I have to constantly bring myself back to. And sometimes on my way to my regular work, I try to count to 10 things I'm grateful for, but at least 5. And then on my way home or right before I go to bed, I try to do the same thing about things I'm grateful for, and you know that helps bring me back down.
Yeah, I mean, what you focus on grows. So even like the people in my life who I notice are in my core group, I like, instead of, if I catch myself thinking of things I might want to change, I'm like, why would I even try to like judge or think anything? Instead, I even like to think, what am I grateful for about them? Like what, to cultivate a whole, like just an entire attitude of gratitude about life. And then at the
I
same,
like that attitude of gratitude.
And at the same time, not ignoring the things that come up, but just then thinking, well, why is that coming up? Because everything that's coming up is within me. So at the same, even having gratitude for that and thinking, well, okay, I'm grateful to notice that this is coming up. And then instead of, so like the thoughts, if I have thoughts about other people in my life, okay, well, let me think, why is that coming up? So if I find I'm judging other people, it actually is a judgment within myself.
Yeah.
So then what am I judging about myself? And then it's, what can I be grateful for about that person? And then how can I work through what maybe I'm not accepting within myself?
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to feel accepted and loved and heard. And so the more I accept and love and hear myself, the more I show up as like me, you know? And then other people also feel like they can be themselves. It's just an interesting thing. I'm still figuring it out more and more every day.
I think we're all figuring it out. I mean, what you said is really true. Everybody wants to be accepted, loved, and heard. And it's, if you don't love yourself first, you know, that's the first step, I think.
Yeah.
Is loving yourself first.
So if you ever hear me talking shit, be like, you're off track, Anna.
And I think the coaching is great, and I'm here to help support and promote that in any way I can. And I want to go to the Steep Station event. I think that's going to be...
I'm excited about it. Don Cello is a leader in the community,
Okay.
and he has High Vibe Fridays at Steep Station every Friday.
Okay.
And just recently, he asked me to come the second Friday of every month. I'm like, yes. And so I think incorporating a lot of what I do outside of DJing that's a great place, because it's like a sober community that they have there. And people dance in their spirits there. They show up ready to dance. And
I've never been to Steep Station.
Oh, it's great. It is great. And so I think that's a great place to incorporate. And we're even, Don and I are even doing some, we're doing silent discos in the future. I think he's calling it electric picnic or something. But he's exploding with a lot of joy-filled activities that he promotes.
Okay.
And so I'm happy that he sees me as part of any of it. So yeah.
Well, I think you're such a vibe, because I remember the first time I saw you, like I love your hats. Like that's your signature. That is your vibe.
It's art.
That's you. Like, so tell us about your hat making business, because I love these hats. And you make them, right?
Yeah. I made this one for today, so yeah.
I love it.
I made it this morning. See, it's
oh my god!
Yeah. It's got a little note on the back, and then it says "Get Lost." I mean, we're get lost in the music, and I have antlers everywhere.
Okay.
And then I like to put crystals on there too. So this is some clear quartz, and then feathers. I love feathers. So the hats started. So the hats started. I would wear them. Honestly, a few years back, I think I was looking for a Halloween costume, and I got a costume with feathers on it, and then I ended up not wearing it, and I was like, well, I could put this, and I had a few hats, and so I started like decorating them, and then I think I started wearing hats because I was insecure and I didn't want to talk to people when I would dance when I first started to learn to shuffle, and then I started shifting to where I like talking to people, but I realized that it's like a fashion statement. Like you can actually like really intentionally decorate these with like the intention that you walk in. Like, so I started to think about like a message that you can put on them. So I have a lot of statements that I put on them. And then I was at a retreat. I started working with Louise. She's in the community. She wanted to do a women's retreat. And so at a property that I have with my ex-husband, we threw a retreat with like 10 women. And we were all like, I don't know, we're all leading workshops and stuff. And Danielle, who I think she's not Tomorrow's Vibes. I don't know if she's here. I think she moved away, but she was really involved in the community with throwing events.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I moved here. And but she was like, do you want to vend at St. Pete Brewing Company with your hats? I'm like, okay. Well, she's like, do you have like a line of hats to sell? I'm like, I have so many hats. And she's like, but you've never sold them? I'm like, no, but I have so many. So I set up, and I had everything I needed to set up like vending, even though I never vended before. I had like a tent from when I was a teacher and all of it. So I set it up, and I was like, well, I'm supposed to be doing this right now. And so I would set up vending then at all these events. And even like at one of us, I was at like the Moshak event, like vending my hats. And so then I just started to get more creative, and I learned how to like sand them and torch them and put different paint finishes on them, and like to sew certain, like I really went all out, and so I can custom make them for certain people, which we do. Like I just did for Gasparilla with my friend Josh and another DJ in the community, Roberta, and then I have probably 15 right now in the line that I have that I just made, and they're all just intentionally like walk in your own essence. So they all, and like to be one with nature, and yeah, they're really fun.
I love your hats. I feel like it suits you. It's like it's you. It's you.
I enjoy it. Yeah, I think what heals you heals the world.
Yeah.
And making hats, and I try to make sure like it doesn't become a task. Like when I feel in the flow to like make them, I go at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's currently on your Spotify? Who are you listening to right now?
Okay, so I have different genres of house that I'm drawn to sometimes. So I still do love like Salt and Shepherd, Lane 8, and Jarrow and Marsh. I was listening to just yesterday actually, and I love like Future House. I love some Donnie D, Don Diablo. I don't know. I love Don Diablo. I also love Wax Motif, Vintage Culture. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know it was me.
We're like, we both haven't.
Yeah. I haven't. I had a little morsel of bread on me over. We're fun.
I feel like we live very similarly.
Yeah, we're real here.
Did you see Vintage Culture back in October?
Yes.
Was he good?
Yes.
Okay.
Vintage Culture, like, he's a vibe. He's really inspired me, like, a lot. Like, that track, Free, is my jam. Like, the lyrics, like, free to dance, free to move, free to rejoice, welcome back. And then, like, the whole frequency of that track, I'm like, oh, yeah.
So I didn't know who Vintage Culture was until I was in somebody's living room. And this guy put on Vintage Culture set of him in the crane.
Yeah.
Like, where they're shooting off, like, fireworks and all that. I was like, oh, wow, like, this is crazy. And I ended up liking some of his stuff.
He's like deep in tech and like there's not really rules, I feel like.
He just kind of does his own. He just does his own thing.
Yeah.
I like watching his set at Tomorrowland.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to do Tomorrowland Like, is that something you would want to do?
Well, it's funny because I was talking about like how I walk through fears.
Okay.
So I just recently purchased I was like I would play anywhere if I'm aligned for it. Yeah, and I purchased I went all out for this year and purchased like equipment to like just be. I'm ready. I'm ready for anything, and I want to know all the effects and all of it. So I'm practicing on the type of equipment that I would practice on if I went to Tomorrowland.
I'm laughing because you're telling me about all the stuff you're purchasing, all the stuff you're working on because like you're ready.
Yeah.
And I'm going through my own journey, and it's like I've hired a team of people, like we have the studio, like, and then it's just like
Belief in ourselves.
I'm trying to believe it. It hasn't happened yet, but like I'm ready, hopefully.
I like to visualize. I do a visualization of like the highest version of myself that I know I'm called to be on this planet for, and I like to visualize that. So, yeah. And if I visualize myself on any stage or anything, it wouldn't be for validation. It would be because I'm called to like.
Because you have to do it. Like,
because I'm called to touch people on that stage,
Yeah.
and I would know. I don't know. Like if I were asked to do something for $1 million and I wasn't called to do it, I would say no.
I think
really would.
you start losing your why. You start losing your why when the money I think becomes more important. I mean,
Yeah.
like sure, like it would be nice if we all had ample and endless amounts of money, but I think we've seen some artists that are very commercialized now and that they've lost their why. I mean, we talked about Avicii earlier, and
Yeah.
I think there's a few artists out there that they're making a killing, but have they lost their why?
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever has to sell their soul.
And
I think that you can always, your energy is your currency, and the one thing that we can control is our energy and the way that we offer it to the world. Yeah. And I think abundance flows when you provide energy in a way that adds value to the world.
I love that.
I think it's true, and I'm learning it, and I truly believe that. Yeah.
You have said some really powerful things this morning. You have said some
I like our
really-
energy together. You bring it out. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not even nervous, like, when I'm around you. It's great. Yeah.
I feel like it's almost kind of like we're mirroring
Yeah,
each other.
I actually
like,
feel that. Yeah.
It's weird, but you're saying like a lot of things that really resonate and with me, and I hope they resonate with some of you guys tuning in at home. Wow, I almost want to end on that statement because
Yeah.
like your energy is your currency. And
Yeah, and I feel like if we add the energy that we're meant to give the world, yeah, abundance ain't no thing. That's just that it flows. Yeah.
Okay, so any last thoughts or things you want to share with the folks at home? So we're gonna put your socials on our page. We know you're gonna be at Steep Station every second Friday. You said.
Yeah, every second
Okay.
Friday. There are a few more gigs this month too. Like you'll see me out and about. I mostly play in the St. Pete, downtown St. Pete community, and but I'll always post on my social media where I'm at. I do get to go to Miami. I'm playing in Miami for the first time in March. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, for Winter Music Conference, I'm super excited about that, and it's with some really heart-driven people, so I'm so excited about that. It's with Sonder Blue House is such a great crew too, so I'll be going with them, and then yeah, I love the music community here, and I just encourage everyone to just keep walking in your essence, and if you're not sure what that is, just the willingness to know what that is really all you need, and layer by layer, we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and coming on the show.
This was a blast.
And I can't wait to see you like perform. So I'm gonna go to Steep Station next time you're playing and check you out again. Yeah, and so until next time, guys, stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.